Just a couple weeks ago, sat next to Frank Vogel on set, and he had had enough of broadcasting. Back on the court he goes, trying to bring his defense from the Pacers to the Lakers and change the culture to what it's supposed to be at Staples.
We need to build togetherness with our organization, okay? And I don't just mean with the 15 guys or 17 guys that are going to be in uniform or in that locker room. Okay, I'm talking about organizational togetherness.
Coaching young players is different, I think, than coaching someone like LeBron James, given his experience level. Can a team really succeed at that?
Every player that I've ever been around that's, quite frankly, worth a damn wants to be challenged and wants to be pushed and wants to be coached hard and wants to be held accountable. Okay, and that will be the expectation with every player on the roster. Okay, now, does that mean we're going to treat everybody the same? No. Okay, you treat everybody fairly. Okay, but everybody will be treated differently. I mean, that's just coaching.
If people take a look at where this franchise is right now, we have a great coach. Again, we have a high draft pick. We have a great young core, maybe one of the best in the league. We have a superstar on our team and an open slot. So I think that people can look at this as an opportunity to come and win a championship possibly next year.
Rob, Magic Johnson did an interview this morning in which he said that he felt like you betrayed him when you guys were working together. What was your reaction to him saying that, and do you believe that's a fair assessment of your relationship?
I think the most important thing for me is the 2 years of getting to work side by side with Irvin are some of the greatest memories I have in sports and work. He's an unbelievable person to work with. He fills the room with joy and vision. And truly it's saddening and disheartening to think he believes things are a misperception. I have talked to him several times since he decided to step away. We've had many joy-filled conversations. In fact, 2 days ago, we were reliving the combine and the fourth pick and talking about the great future that this franchise has. So these things are surprising to hear and disheartening. But I look forward to the opportunity to talk with him and sit down with him and work through them, just like in any relationship, because they're just simply not true.
All right, we're not shrinks. We don't play them on TV either. But if you sit there and you say to yourself, did that seem like really how the two felt about each other? Because Magic is saying that he was betrayed. And, here's Rob with where he is. I mean, this sounds like we're like having a high school debate conversation, but let's go to the person who knew Rob the most and was with him for 13 years. Right? So it's hard, right, in that spot, because Magic is Magic. You can't tarnish regardless of what's gone on behind the scenes. But how do you look at what's gone on here with the Lakers?
First of all, it's extremely entertaining, like daytime TV, extremely. But I think for me, you got to look at like the win-lose situation here. If he would have said, "Nah, I hate Magic. He didn't do nothing. He was lazy," that wouldn't have got him anywhere, and this would have been news for the next 2 weeks. So what he does is he gives you a plain, run-of-the-mill answer. They played hard. We have to go to practice, work, whatever we have to do. He is in a no-win situation, personally, from my opinion. So he just gave an answer that's pretty boring. We're going to talk about it tonight, maybe tomorrow. And something else is going to happen in Lakerland. We'll be talking about that tomorrow. So, in my opinion, I know Rob as a person, as a human, he's awesome. But he's in a tough spot right now.
Gee, I remember sitting there down the hall because I knew we were doing it. So I'm on the air, and they're like, "Well, Magic he left. Yeah. Where's the press? There was no press conference. He's in the hallway live. We're going there, and it was like he ran out of the building and went right to Twitter. But he ran out of the building. The whole thing from that point on. Is this as strange a situation as even for the Lakers?
It's up there. There's no doubt about it. Listen, Magic's an iconic figure. Will always be beloved in Los Angeles for what he's accomplished as a player. And what struck me as strange is the fact that he said, look, I didn't realize I didn't have power with the position. In essence, he was basically a figurehead for them. And I guess if I'm Magic Johnson, I would feel betrayed as well, in that situation. And listen, at the end of the day, all this stuff's irrelevant based on what happens over the next 60 days in terms of the draft, in terms of pending free agency, in terms of what deals they can make vis-a-vis trade as well. So those are going to define the Lakers and Rob Pelinka moving forward, and for that matter, Frank Vogel, and how he coaches up that group, because ultimately we won't be talking about this if the Lakers get their ship in order and they get back on track. But if they don't, this will live in infamy. Like, we will always come back to that press conference tonight and that relationship that he was honored and privileged to have over the last 2 seasons.
I'm not trying, Chris, to take away front office, and I think continuity, we all know, is great. Coaching, important, but it's about talent, right? So you've been through the situation, obviously, getting together with LeBron and then growing with him to go win a championship and all the goals he has now with the Lakers. How much is he up against when you look at all the cloud that's hung over Staples? I mean, here are Doc Rivers and the Clippers, and they're a great story, while the Lakers have become the front page for the wrong reason. What does that add in terms of the challenge for
I mean,
him?
the part that's interesting to me, how long have we talked about this? We haven't even mentioned LeBron.
Yeah.
Right?
We haven't even mentioned basketball.
He's so happy.
You know what I mean? So it's an interesting dynamic. But I think eventually, to GA's point, it's eventually going to come down to winning basketball games. Nothing cures everything like winning. But, you know, the draft is coming up. They need a president. It's so many other things that need to be filled. They need a team, and they need to get things going in order to be successful next year. So they need to make sure that they, you know, get back on track and make sure they're all about winning.
You know, they say they're not going to fill the president role, right? So it would seem like things will stay status quo, but we don't really know what that is. And now you got the two coaches, and I want to ask about that because, look, when you're talking about free agents having conversations, yes, playing with LeBron James is a huge deal, but what about the coaching? Is there stability? So you got Frank Vogel, who had, look, a smart guy, defensive guy, ton of success with Indiana, not so much Orlando. We all know what Jay did during his career, but now you got two coaches who haven't worked together, got to figure it out, and then figure out how to work with the players. How does that add to this mix?
I think it's a lot, but you got to look at personalities and you got to look at where it starts. And I think if you say, you know, Frank Vogel's respected by a lot of guys in the league, so is Jason Kidd. So now when you talk to vets, when you talk to free agents, you say, listen, if you cannot communicate with Frank, you can communicate with Jay Kidd, but we're all on the same page. You know, we're all here to win. We're all trying to win a chip. When you play with Bron, it's championship or nothing 99.9% of the times. And you know, with the team they have right now, that's not going to get it done. So they have to do everything, to me, is based on free agents and what type of players you get in. Because honestly, coaching is going to help, but the players are the ones that put the ball in the hoop.
You know, G.A., the other question that, to your point, there's so many things going on. We don't even talk about the court. Remember, the whole big talk during the season was, well, you know, LeBron really is the GM. He tried to trade all the players, and then they got upset, and everyone got sad, and I'm not crying, you're crying, and all that kind of stuff. But they've got a lot of talent, and they're going to figure out, like with AD, who do we trade, who we don't? Do we really know who LeBron wants to play with or who doesn't?
Well, I would also say this. This also shows you LeBron wasn't the GM, right? Because he didn't fire himself. He didn't quit. I mean, and ultimately, all these deals or deals that weren't made are the reason we're in this boat. Listen, they've got good young talent, but you don't win championships with good young talent. They need veteran guys that they can count on. Now, you could argue some of the veterans they bought in, a lot of people saw that coming, that was not going to be the answer for what they were trying to accomplish this year. So, in essence, they have a wasted year. But listen, they're going to still have to be big players in free agency vis-a-vis the trade. That draft pick, it's great, but ultimately, with LeBron James's window potentially being 3 years, I got to assume they're going to move that pick. They almost certainly have to move it in order to build it. And I tell you what, that their issues have basically been expedited because of how this offseason and the end of the season have played out. You know, had they made the postseason and maybe, you know, played in 6 or 7 games in the first round, you wouldn't have the sense of urgency or the fear that's right now in Lakerland, because they feel, listen, one thing we all know sitting up here, and both these guys that play with them, they got a guy that's good enough to win with. So the real issue is everybody else. And what are they going to be able to do to put a roster together that can compete in that Western Conference? And you just talked about it. The Clippers aren't slowing down. They're going to be players in free agency as well.
They may get Kawhi.
You know what? Who knows? They could. They could get KD. We don't know. But we have a sneaky suspicion that they're going to get somebody. The bigger question is, will the Lakers get somebody?
Which is odd. I mean, it's like a role reverse. I just want to ask, and I want to move on to the Pelicans, but for you guys in playing with LeBron, you hear so much noise on the outside when you're in it, now even after it. Players talk, current players, you guys still talk to players. If free agents text you, and this happens, where they text and say, hey, what's it really like? Do you think I'd fit? When you hear that kind of thing, do people talk too much about how tough it might be to fit with LeBron?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're always going to have to fit around a great player. That's just the nature of the beast. If I'm playing with Shaq, move out the way. You know, that's that's going to be a part of my sacrifice for the team. But I mean, you know, people have to really understand what it takes to win. And if you're a free agent and you want to win, you want the opportunity to play with a great player. If you have that opportunity, you're going to have to adjust your game. It's basketball. You should be able to adjust, but that's where working hard, getting in the film room, watching practices, communication, those things really, really play a big, big role in your success as a teammate.
You did that in second. Look, a number one option for a long period of time. Said, okay, I'm going to beat. We've seen the Warriors. Why did they win? Look, Klay could go up there and be a different guy, right, on other teams. Steph, we're seeing now what he used to be, but he had dialed himself back. Jenny, is it harder, do you think, to get free agents at the ego value, the social media, all that comes with it, to be able to say, hey, look, I want to win a championship bad enough that as long as you pay me, I'll sacrifice points, minutes, whatever you need? Is that harder to find now?
I think so, because I think a lot of guys don't like the pressure of having to be consistent and having the pressure of Bron. Bron is going to be first in the gym. He's going to be last to leave. He's going to be consistent in what he gives you every night, and he's going to put pressure on you to play at a championship-level basketball. Some guys like it. Some guys break halfway through, right? You know, and he's going to make you a better person because of that consistency. Now, some guys like to go get a bad 25, not be on TV, and be, you know, famous for their losing teams. Bron is ready to play at a high level. So most guys who play with Bron, and Chris knows this, your stats don't matter. It's what you are doing every single day, and are you prepared for that one moment where he passes you the ball? Are you going to make the shot when it counts? And so some guys don't want that pressure. They just want to shoot bad percentages and get their points and go home.
And to his point, the irony of it is this. You wouldn't want that guy if he wouldn't want to play with LeBron James and play for a championship. You know, Chris Bosh could have stayed in Toronto and got good numbers, but Chris Bosh wanted a chance to win a championship. And that's why you went to Miami, I would assume, for that chance to win a championship, right? Like, yeah, well, you at that level, when you're a Chris Bosh, when you're a Kevin Durant, like, they're going to get paid. It's just a matter of whether or not they're going to get an opportunity to win a championship. He didn't go there. He didn't go there knowing he was going to win it. He went there for the opportunity. And so, listen, you heard the comments from Kyrie Irving midway through the season. Because sometimes with young players, a lot of times they think they're good enough. And you got to think that. You got to have that ego, that they're good enough to be the best player. And as great a player as Kyrie Irving is, we saw it play out. As good as he is, you can't do it by yourself. Why did Golden State go get Kevin Durant? They won 73 games that year and lost the championship. As great as Steph Curry was, and he's showing us his true greatness again in this series, but ultimately they would still, if Kevin Durant doesn't come back, I don't know that they're going to beat Milwaukee or Toronto. Without those teams are really good basketball teams.
And Milwaukee's deeper than they are now because the depth is not what it used to be without Durant.
Nobody wins championships by themselves. You need multiple great players, Hall of Fame caliber talent to win a championship. Golden State's got 4 of them. You played against those San Antonio Spurs teams. They had 4 of them. You guys had you had 4 of them when Ray Allen came on board. Like, that's the level of talent you got to have to win championships.
All right, well, let me ask you about AD because, look, speaking of saying the right things, going back full circle, right? When you're sitting there at the draft and things go the way they go because, I mean, Griff is like, Yolanda Vega, I thought, was the only one when she does the lotto numbers who maybe knows before we do. You get Griff around, you win. When you sit there chanting in the spot that they're in, though, even though you say the right things, AD doesn't want to stay there. Now, they could have a conversation. We know that the Rich Paul relationship, obviously, with Griff is going to be good. How do you see this thing playing out? Is there even a percentage above 0 that you think, hey, look, AD, if we get you X, Y, and Z, and we get Zion, that he says, you know what, I'll hang around the rest of the year, and then I'll go into free agency and go where I want?
I think for me, if you're Griff and how I would do it,
is
you're establishing a culture for the minute. You're saying, listen, we're getting this pick. We're getting an extremely, ridiculously one-of-a-lifetime talent. Now, we are going to build around this, and if you want to be a part of this, we're going to build around this for the next 4 or 5 years. If you want to be, you know, a Tim Duncan, or if you want to be like a Dirk, help us build this, I'm with it. If you're not, we'll get people who want to be here. I think that's the deal with New Orleans. When you got a guy like this, you want to give him a chance to develop and grow within a great system, within a great culture. Now, you don't want a guy that might change his mind halfway through. Now you have all this bad media press. You might as well get him gone early and then have all these young guys come who want to be there, who are going to embrace that opportunity to play with a guy like Zion.
That's how
Zero.
much chance.
Yeah, zero. Yeah, it could,
Anthony Davis is gone.
No, I get it.
Anthony Davis is gone. That's not even. Listen.
Yeah, go ahead.
He should have been traded.
Yes,
They
I was
had.
just gonna
Listen,
ask
there's
you
a
that.
reason why Dell Demps is no longer there because he allowed that situation to get personal. That deal that the Lakers made him. That was a beyond grand slam.
Deal.
They won't get a deal that good.
Not close.
As great as Anthony Davis is,
Right.
they won't get a deal that good. So now they're going to end up probably getting less, but they're going to still have to move him because, again, Anthony Davis is trying to win a championship.
See, here's why
They're not winning no championship in New Orleans.
No.
And I love Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson is going to have a really good rookie
Well,
year.
he's going to be AD maybe in 5 years. I mean, you hope not.
Yeah, but you're looking
but in 5
short.
years,
Same kind of
AD is 30,
situation.
32.
No, I'm saying looking to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I
But
mean, he could end
they
up
got
in the same spot.
enthusiasm, excitement in
Yeah.
New Orleans. Now they got another window to make the trade, and all will be forgotten if they can bring back some good young talent. They can rebuild with a much more enthusiastic fan base now that you got Zion.
Well, here's the thing, because I saw it, you're like, oh, but and when you look at leverage, right, it's everything in any kind of deal. Anybody who makes a trade at a high value is thinking we can keep him long term. My question is, nobody's looking at the other side, like Kawhi, right? They may not go to the finals, they may not win the championship. Look where they are. Look what Masai did, and he may leave. Do you think there's a chance? Because this is what nobody talks about. Everybody mentions, well, the Knicks or the Lakers, two teams that want to keep him long-term, Boston. When you look at Portland, Oklahoma City, so many other teams that have kind of been in it but not there, do you think somebody would make a run to maybe make one run with Anthony Davis? Is he worth that as a player? Paul George, we saw it 2 years ago. We saw it this past year with Kawhi, but nobody's referenced that as even a possibility with AD.
Well, I mean, it's just one of those open experiments. It's on you as a GM to really, really put yourself out there. And I think one of the interesting situations is Elton Brand in Philly. Now, he went for it. He made the trade. I'm sure they wanted to accomplish way more. Either way, he's still in the game. He has to make sure that he signs some more talent, hopefully Jimmy Butler back, hopefully Tobias Harris back, but, continue to build those teams and try to make sure that they have some sustainability moving forward with their talent.
Yeah, GA, quickly, just because, and I agree with you, I think the leverage is lost a bit. They'll get a really good deal as long as there's enough bidders. But considering the value's down a little bit, do you think we get surprised? I remember sitting here on this court doing this show when Oklahoma City pulled off Paul George and no one even saw that coming at all. Should we be talking more about the possibility that maybe somebody jumps into this mix?
Two things. One, the leverage isn't less. Anthony Davis, leverage is starting to go back
less
up now.
time.
Because now we don't have the emotional baggage. Anthony Davis is still arguably a top 5 player in this league. Like, you're not going to get the home team discount. It's gonna take a good deal, but they would have gotten a better deal prior. They're gonna get a good deal. Griff knows what he's doing, but he also knows he's got to move him. And honestly, from Griff's standpoint, he probably wants to move him because you want to come in. You're a new regime. You want to come in and start over and put your stamp on an organization where the people who are there want to be there. And so I think they'll get a good deal. But I don't know that they get a deal as good as the one that the Lakers had offered.
There's no way they could have planned to have the kind of face they're about to put on that stamp when they went into the draft lottery. It's going to be a good one. It's a lot better than that face. 3D, which is thankfully not what we're looking at.
Is DZ checking his nose hairs? What are he checking over there?